All right, welcome back. This is gonna be part 2 of my video with Kim Kruger talking about title insurance and title companies and what they do here in Michigan. So hopefully you saw the first video. If not, go back and watch it. And let's get started in the second video. But before we do, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. And again, if you have any questions for myself or Kim, go ahead and email me, brooks@mittenhometeam.com. I'll be happy to get those answered for you. Okay, I'm back with part 2 of title and closing in my little mini series about what buyers and sellers need to know about real estate in the greater Lansing area. I have my guest here with me again, still, Kim Kruger, and we're going to talk about the title portion from a closing aspect. So what can a buyer expect at closing, or a seller expect at closing? What do they need to bring? How long is it going to take? What are they going to do? Tell us a little bit about the closing process.
Sure, happy to do so. Well, bring your patience. Bring your good signing hand, and we'll have the pens, so don't worry about that. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to provide a settlement statement. That settlement statement is going to break down all the costs of the transfer of the property from the seller's side, the purchase price, less maybe a mortgage that's out, and then any additional fees for recordings and transferring of property. There's, of course, a tax involved there. So we will have that all broken down for the seller. We'll do the same thing for the buyer. If the buyer's getting a loan, we do work with the buyer's lender to break down all of those costs and those fees associated with that and establish the bottom line that the buyer will need to bring in. Obviously, they're probably putting some money down. They've probably given you a deposit to give to me that I'm holding on to. We'll give them credit for that. And along with that, minor things that the seller has to do. Obviously, they've got to sign a deed for us to transfer it to the new home buyer. And then the lender will require documentation being signed in order to give them that loan, note, a mortgage, and so on and so forth. So that's really all that's involved there as far as the signing goes. It's a fairly quick process. I mean, I think if we're able to get that information out to you in advance, if your buyers and sellers want to review them before they come to closing, I would say it's a fairly quick process.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take probably more than an hour to 30 minutes, depending. And I think that's about it.
Okay. Everyone asks, how much are they going to have to sign? And I know that there's essentially 2 different sets of documents, right? You have your title documents and your lender documents. And lender documents is going to vary from the lender, but if we're talking title documents, how many things does someone need to sign to buy a home from the title side of things?
Not much. I mean,
20 signatures?
No, probably
15,
less.
10?
Probably maybe 15 at the most. I
Okay.
shouldn't have more than 10 to 12 documents for you to sign at the most.
Okay. And then everything else that's
Everything
signed
else that has to be signed is from the lender side. And I'm sorry, sometimes those documents do get a little bit redundant, but we will walk you through them.
Yeah.
We will let you know exactly what it is you're signing. We'll assist with the transferring of the property from the seller to the buyer in regards to homestead rights and things like that. We'll go ahead and file that with the municipality for you. So anything that may need to be done to get that property into the new buyer's name, transfer that interest, and whether it be homestead or non-homestead, we'll take care of all that. The deed's going to get signed. We're going to file that for you. That really is all that needs to be done. I know that when there is a lender involved, sometimes it takes a little extra time. So like I said, if you've done it before, it's probably going to seem standard. I will tell you though, the exciting thing is a lot of these lenders now are allowing you to pre-sign.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced that with a few of our lenders here locally.
It makes it so much faster.
Oh my gosh, it sure does. If you're comfortable doing so, they will email you several of their lender required documents in advance. You can pre-sign those. So by the time you get to us, you might get so lucky as to only have about a dozen of their forms that have to be signed. In that case, we'll have you in and out in no time.
Yeah. Another question we get all the time, the deed. So you sign a deed at closing.
Correct.
It gets sent to the Register of Deeds office, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then gets mailed to the client later. Is to the buyer. Yeah,
we
how's
used
that?
to do it that way,
Yeah.
but more and more now, as again we continue to progress with just like the the hybrid lender closing, we're able to actually electronically record deeds.
Okay.
Some other required documents also, it again varies from municipality to municipality. So essentially, we could have that deed of record the very same day that you close.
Okay.
And we will send the original to you, so you will actually get the original signed document back with the librarian page and all that information stamped right on that. But yes, we will get that back to you.
Now, what do you do with the deed? Do you actually need it? Like, put it in a drawer someplace? Like,
a safe place would be nice.
Okay.
But I will tell you that deed's on record, so if you did ever need to get a copy of it, you certainly could do so by going to the local county Register of Deeds office and obtaining a copy of it. Once it goes on record, it's filmed and it's cataloged and filed there. It's just nice to hold on to and keep in a safe spot if you can. I've been trying to encourage folks to allow us to maybe email those packages to them so that they can put those maybe safely somewhere on their computer if that's something that they'd like to do. But we are still handing out the actual paper copies. So once we transfer the paper copies, you've got to make sure you're putting them somewhere safe where they...
So someone comes into the office for closing, they sign all of your title documents, they sign all the lender documents, they sign the deed. When do they legally own the property? Is it as soon as those documents are signed by buyer and seller? Is it when it's recorded at the county? When does someone actually own the property?
Well, they own the property at the time that they sign all the documents.
Okay. Once both parties sign.
Once both parties, yes.
Okay.
Let's be clear on that, because if we do have a split closing, we may not be closing at the exact same time. But once both parties have signed all documents. Now, occupancy is another thing. I won't get into that with you. But it is at that time, and we have a responsibility to make sure that deed's recorded promptly. So technically, once everything is signed and once that deed is recorded, it is legal.
Gotcha. So if I was buying a property today and everything was signed today, but the deed wasn't recorded until tomorrow, today I own the property.
You still own the property.
Okay, great.
Today.
And just because occupancy came up, I'll answer that one kind of quickly. Kim doesn't have anything to do with occupancy. Sometimes sellers need to stay in a home after closing, and that's what she's referring to. The buyer still owns the home that day, but sellers essentially become tenants for a period of time.
And there are times I know that we can assist with making sure that that's happening. And that is one of the questions that we will ask of our agent in advance. Are we going to be transferring keys at closing, or is there going to be an occupancy? And we do assist with an agreement for that if that's going to happen. But yes, the buyer still owns the home. The seller then becomes a tenant. So.
Okay. What else does someone need to know about closing?
Well, in regards to what we're going to need from you, obviously identification is critical. We need to know that the person signing is the actual person that's buying or selling. We are doing something now called ID verification that we are trying to obtain in advance, and that is really one of the Alta best practices. It's a new pillar that was added this year to protect the lender. Nonetheless, we as a company decided to adopt that as a policy, so we are making sure that that information is verified and in our file in advance. However, we do have a notary service that we're performing at closing, so we will still want to see a driver's license or a state ID with a photo with your name on it at closing. If somebody is signing remotely with maybe a mobile notary, the mobile notary again will require that same information, and they actually are performing ID verification as well. This has become kind of an industry staple as of the first of this year, to make sure that we're preventing any type of potential forgery, as much as I hate to put it out there, but we're making sure that everyone's protected.
Okay. So driver's license, state ID. Is there anything else? What if someone doesn't have one of those two things? Passport?
Passport would be acceptable, but then we're kind of really running out of options.
Okay.
And an expired ID will not pass the ID verification.
Okay.
So maybe a good question, our conversation to be having is, as we approach closing, let's make sure And we're all guilty of it.
Have you ever had that happen where someone came to a closing with an expired ID and couldn't have the closing?
We have.
Oh no.
Fortunately, the Secretary of State offices is right down the road. Sometimes we can get it accomplished that same day. But nonetheless, it's just, I can see how it can happen, but it's really critical. But a passport is acceptable as well.
Okay.
So if that happens, we just had a gal the other day that called and said, oh my goodness, I just noticed that my ID is expired. I just had a birthday. So we just asked her to quickly try to get an appointment to get in there and get what she could. And, if she can show us that it's valid, we'll go ahead and allow that to close. But yeah, we have to be current,
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I'm going to ask you another question, and this is really because I'm curious about it, and we'll see what you have to say. Non-U.S. citizen buying property, what do they have to provide you?
There's nothing that says a non-U.S. citizen can't purchase property, but they, of course, have to pass that ID verification as well.
Okay.
If they're in the States, it really just depends on if they can sign here locally. If they can't sign locally, well, we have to look at some other things. Things get a little bit challenging at that time. We have a couple of different federal requirements that go along with that. It's a rapid changing, you know, Brooks, we just had FinCEN that was put in place, and it was literally just reversed 24 hours ago.
That's part of the reason why I asked, because I am just genuinely curious about it.
We are having to take a step back. Unfortunately, it was brought before the courts. The courts have put a stay on it. There is an appeal that's happening now. So it's something that we as a title company will watch and make sure that we are doing it properly for all parties that are involved, especially in regards to FinCEN. Now that necessarily may not affect a foreign citizen that's buying or selling, but again, it's all about whether or not we can verify that person is who they say they are, and if they are out of the country, we will have to make some special arrangements for signing and for proper notarization. And it's not always a notarization in a different country. It has to be handled a little bit differently, but it's not an absolute no. We just have to give ourselves a little time, have those conversations up front, and address it at the time. But,
so still possible, ever-changing environment, as everything is when the government's involved, right? So whatever current procedures are.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you want to share with someone that you think that they should know about being ready coming to a closing?
No, I just hope that we get everything that we need done in advance, and when you get to our office and you come to our table, that's the happy time. That's the time that you're buying a home.
Yeah.
And that's the time that you've taken care of everything with your lender. You've taken care of everything as a seller with the property that maybe needed to be taken care of in advance. And again, if somebody is going to stay in the home a little bit longer, that's not a problem. We'll work that out. But we want the signing to be the final happy ending in the process. So that's our hope.
Well, I think that's everything we have today. Thank you so much for coming in and answering these questions for our listeners/viewers, Kim. Again, I'm Brooks, your host with Living in Lansing, Michigan. Everything you need to know about buying a home, selling a home, or living in the greater Lansing area. If you have any questions about title or anything related to real estate, feel free to email me, brooks@mittenhometeam.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Maybe share this video with someone who is thinking about buying or selling a home so they can be a little bit more prepared and know what to expect from the title side of things. Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.